Order on this February 14th, 2 o'clock, 2022. Colors will be presented by the Wyoming National Guard, Color Guard. A national anthem will be sung by the Star Valley High School Syncopation Choir under the direction of Carrie Allred. Please stand.
Oh, say can see my what's around me, the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous path. For the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streamed. And the markets were the most bursting in the night. That our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please remain standing, and I invite Father Thomas Crunkleton, pastor of Thank you, Wyoming National Guard. Please remain standing. I invite Father Thomas Crunkleton, pastor of St. Mary's Cathedral in Cheyenne, to give the invocation.
Let us pray. Lord God, as the gavel falls and the Wyoming Senate is called to order, we begin the 2022 budget session and the 66th Wyoming Legislature. We do so on the Feast of St. Valentine. While there are many legends concerning the saint, one is that he cured the blindness of a jailer's daughter. May we be blessed with sight. Sight to see the needs we need to address, vision to see how best to address those needs, and insights on the way to achieve these ends together. Be with our senators and their support staff as they, in these next 20 days, do the people's business by crafting legislation and resolutions, and by addressing the budget with its revenues and expenditures, as well as the other pressing issues of our state, which will become before them this session. Time is short, so help them to work expeditiously. We ask this in all things in your holy name. Amen.
Thank you, Father. Please be seated now. Chief Clerk will call the roll.
Roll call for Monday, February 14th. Anderson. Baldwin. Beitman. Boner. Bouchard. Case. Cooper. Driscoll. Ellis. French. Murphy. Guru. Hicks. Hutchings. James. Kinski. Kolb. Cost. Landon. McEwen. Nethercott. Pappas. Perkins. Rothfuss. Salazar. Schuler. Scott. Steinmetz. Wasserberger. President Dockstader.
Here.
30 present.
All members of the Wyoming. It's my pleasure to folks reintroduce. My pleasure to reintroduce the Star Valley High School Syncopation Choir under the direction of Carrie Allred to entertain us for a moment here this morning as we get things started. Senate will stand at ease until the sound of the gavel once they have sung, and then we'll kind of just to outline things for you. We'll have some introductions here, the singing, and then we'll stand at ease. So at this point, please join me in offering a warm welcome to Star Valley Syncopation. And Carrie, if you'd take just a moment and explain this choir. You've got a microphone that will
I
work.
do. Oh, yep, there we go. And that one too.
For those of us in the chamber, would you explain what the choir does? And then I'd like to just quickly have them individually say their names. That's what they get for 14 hours of bus time.
14 hours. Thank heavens the roads were good though. Yes, this is Syncopation from Star Valley High School. They are a musical theater / show choir kind of group. There's actually not very many of them in the state of Wyoming. So we're not going to do some choral music for you today. It's going to be a little bit more their style, which hopefully is fun for you and takes you back to some of your high school days, believe it or not. So yeah, let's go down the line really quick. Well, let's jump up here really quick and get in our spots. Keep going. Just shout it.
My name's Ali Jack. I'm Gentry Hendricks. Hi, Ohana. My name's Addie.
You guys are great. Thanks. We're going to start with a number that we got to sing for the governor earlier. Hopefully it's inspiring to you guys. I know that we all rise above the challenges that we face and hopefully can bring some inspiration to you as you go to work this next couple months.
You're broken down and tired of living life on a merry-go-round, and you can find the fighter but I see it in you, so we gon' walk it out. Move mountains, we gon' walk it out and move mountains. And I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day, I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. And I'll rise up, high like the waves, I'll rise up, in spite of the ache, I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. For you, for you, for you, for you. When the silence isn't quiet and it feels like it's getting hard to breathe, and I know you feel like dying, but I promise we'll take the world to its feet. Oh, bring it to its feet. I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day, I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid, I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times for you. I will rise, I will rise, I will rise for you. I will rise for you. All we need is hope. And for that we have each other. And for that we have each other. And we will rise, we will rise, we'll rise up. We'll rise. I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day, I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. And I'll rise up, high like the waves, I'll rise up, in spite of the ache, I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. For you, we will rise, we will rise, we will rise for you. We will rise for you. I think that's for Lane.
Thanks. I'm pretty proud. You can tell why. All right. I mean, it's probably tough, long days. So we're going to send you off like with some jamming. And it is Valentine's Day, and Journey writes some of the, best love songs there are. So we're going to throw some Journey at you.
Highway run into the midnight sun. The wheels go round and round. You're on my mind.
Restless hearts sleep alone tonight. Sending all my love along the wire. And they say that the road ain't no place to start a family. Right down the line, it's been you and me. And loving a music man ain't always what it's supposed to be. Oh boy, you stand by me. I'm forever yours. Faithfully. Faithfully, I'm still yours. I'm still yours. I'm still yours. Any way you want it, that's the way you need it. Any way you want it. La 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 la. She loves to laugh, ba-da. She loves to sing, ba-da. She loves everything. She loves to groove, ba-da. She loves to groove, ba-da. She loves the loving things. It won't be long, yeah, till you're alone. Oh, he hasn't come home. Loving, touching, squeezing another. Any way you want it, that's the way you need it. Any way you want it, any way you want it, any way you want it, that's the way you need it. Any way you want it. Oh, I was alone, I never knew what your love could do. Ooh, then we touch, then we say about the loving things. 'Cause he's loving, touching, squeezing. Oh yeah. Any way you want it, any way you want it, that's the way you need it. Any way you want it. Oh, na 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 na. Any way you want it, that's the way you need it.
A singer in a smoky room. For a smile, they could share the night. It goes on and on and on and on.
Strangers waiting up and down the boulevard, their shadows searching in the night. Street lights, people living just to find emotion, hiding somewhere in the night. Don't stop believing. Hold on to that feeling. Street lights, people
minutes. 525,000 moments so dear. 525,600 minutes. How do you measure a year? In daylights, in sunsets, in midnights, in cups of coffee, in inches, in miles, in laughter, in striving. 525,600 minutes. How do you measure a year in the life? How about love? How about love? How about love? Measuring love. Seasons of love. Seasons of love.
525,600 minutes, 525,000 journeys to plan, 525,600 minutes. How do you measure the life of a woman or a man?
Truth that she learned, or the times that he cried, in bridges he burned, or the way that she died. Celebrate, remember a year in the life of friends. Remember the love.
Oh, you got to remember the love. You know that love is a gift from up above. Share love, give love, spread in love. Measure your life in love. Measure your life in love.
Thank you, Carrie. Thank you, choir. Appreciate it. Thank you. We wish you all the best in your travels home. Thank you for getting the Senate started on a good tone. Thank you. All the best. Safe travels. Don't forget to swing through my office for those baskets. So in just a moment, we will, thank you again. In just a moment, we will have privileges of the floor. Once again, I'm going to just pause for a moment so that we can have a resolution read honoring our former colleague and Senator Leland Christensen. And if I could have the reader read that resolution in.
The 66th Legislature of the State of Wyoming honors the memory of Senator Leland Christensen. A memorial providing for recognition of the Honorable Leland Christensen, who served as a senator from the Teton County in the Wyoming Legislature, expressing deep appreciation for his distinguished service to his city, county, state, and country, and further expressing the depth of our sorrow on behalf of the residents of Wyoming. Be it resolved by the 66th Legislature of the State of Wyoming, whereas Leland served with honor and distinction in the Wyoming Senate from 2011 through 2018 and served as committee chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee from 2015 through 2018. And whereas he also served as a committee member on the Management Audit Committee, Senate Judiciary Committee, Senate Transportation, Highways, and Military Affairs, Senate Agriculture, State and Public Lands and Water Resources Committee, Senate Travel, Recreation, Wildlife, and Cultural Resources Committee, Joint Subcommittee to review Title 25 issues, Select Committee on Legislative Technology and Process, Select Committee on Capital Financing and Investments, Select Natural Resource Funding Committee, and the Wyoming Court Security Commission. And whereas a Wyoming native, Leland's public service and accomplishments reach far beyond his time in the legislature, as he worked in law enforcement for 20 years with the Teton County and Lincoln County Sheriff's Offices. And whereas Leland served his state and country during his 15 years with the 19th Special Forces Airborne, Army, and Wyoming National Guard, he also served as a Teton County Commissioner from 2005 to 2011. And whereas in 2019, Governor Mark Gordon appointed Leland as the Deputy Director of Wyoming Homeland Security, and in 2021 became the State Director for the United States Senator Cynthia Lummis. And whereas Leland embodied the Code of the West, he was a natural leader and was known to be a courteous and kind public servant who impacted everyone around him. And whereas he survived by his wife and soulmate Anita, 5 children and 13 grandchildren. Now therefore be it resolved by the State of Wyoming Legislature that we express our profound sense of loss created by the sudden passing of our beloved friend and leader, and extend our sympathies to the family of our fellow legislator and dedicated public servant. Be it further resolved that a copy of this memorial be transmitted to the family of Leland Christensen, that they may know the sense of sorrow and loss suffered by the people of Wyoming by virtue of his passing. Signed on this 14th day of February 2022, Senator Dan Dockstader, President of the Wyoming Senate, and Representative Eric Barlow, Speaker of the Wyoming House of Representatives.
Thank you. I think it'd be appropriate now if we stand and just have a moment of silence for Leland. Thank you. You may be seated. If you would like to sign that resolution, it'll be available in the LSO offices, main office there. So this time, we will move to privileges of the floor. You have anyone that you would like to introduce or recognize? In that case, I do. Senator Hicks, I've looked at you and you've said no. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Last year, we couldn't do much because of COVID. Some of us were here, some of us were gone. We got things started with a few masks and a lot of plexiglass. Now we're back together and back working. So at this point, that's a blessing in itself. And so I, with the help and guidance of my wife, because I had said, no, we don't need to do anything, but for my Christmas present, she handed me an envelope full of tickets, 4 tickets to my children to come home and honor me in the Senate. And so I'll take this, pull myself together here, and I'll introduce them. They come from across the nation. They grew up where these wonderful youth you just saw sing to you, they grew up there in Star Valley, went to those schools. And They're great children. Because of my wife, I was always gone somewhere covering a town council meeting or a school board meeting for our business, our home family business, the paper. And she raised some great kids. And I was honored to be a part of it. So this time, introduce my wife, Kim Dockstetter, 40 years in June. And Senator Ogden Driscoll, Majority Floor Leader, always covering me, making sure I'm taken care of. Picked up these roses for her. So we'll make those on behalf of the Senate. Wonderful wife of 40 years. If I would have told her when I was courting her, I'd say, you know, let's head up to Wyoming, run a country newspaper, and I'll get involved in politics. She would have said, good luck with your journey. Wonderful lady. Start oldest first. Megan, stand up. El Paso, Texas. She's raising 5 boys. Her husband works for a big commercial contractor out of Greeley, Colorado. They've moved them around from Los Angeles, San Diego, Phoenix, Austin, and most recently El Paso. El Paso's turned out to be a pretty friendly town. And she's raising 5 wonderful children. Thank you, Megan. And next, Aaron, our son, raising 4 wonderful kids out in Star Valley, Wyoming, works for a big Jackson company and builds multi-million-dollar homes in Jackson, but does it from a home office in Star Valley. His job is to keep all the workers and all the supplies in place every day. And he's raising 4 wonderful children, my son, Aaron. Next, my daughter, Kaylin from San Diego. And as you can see, in April, we will have, right now at this point, we're at 13 3/4 grandchildren. And she and her husband work in healthcare. He's a nurse at a San Diego hospital, and she works for the same company in administration and logistics and all things related to healthcare in Southern California. That's Kaylin. Thank you. And our youngest on the tail end, Keaton, he was started out in investment banking in Salt Lake after he got his master's, and then he moved on to the high-tech world of what we call Silicon Slopes along the Wasatch Front, and works for a big high-tech company there. And when he met the governor today, governor said, would you bring that company to Wyoming? And that's Keaton Dockstetter, and he has three wonderful daughters. Thank you, Keaton. Yeah. Thank you. That's my family, and they're all great, wonderful. They give back to their communities wherever they live. They contribute and they help. They are people of faith, and they just work very hard to be good people because of their mother. Thank you, everyone. Love you all. So with that, Rudy's floor, go ahead.
I'd like to start off with a huge thank you for your leadership and what you've done. Before we get there, our secretary, Linda Chasten, has made cupcakes for everybody when we go out. And I have another announcement that you're probably not aware of, but for all of you, yesterday was President Dockstetter's birthday. And I would like all of you to join me, and we have to do a happy birthday. So.
Wait a minute. This is off script, so.
It's not off mine. So, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, President
Thank you. Thank you. To my family, this is the Senate. We are full of multiple talent, and I won't take time, all of it, but we have business people, we have educators, we have ranchers, we have attorneys, we have CPAs, we have people of multiple talents, and they're all my dear friends. Even when we're not getting along, they're my dear friends. And I appreciate and love all of them. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Not retain in this body is the ability to sing. But we do appreciate those who would still like to sing. So happy birthday, Mr.
Thank you,
President.
sir. Appreciate that. All the best. Okay. I'll ask the Senate now to stand at each the sound of the gavel, bid farewell to my family, and then we'll come back in and we'll go to work. Thank you. Okay, the Senate will come back to order. I direct the chief clerk to notify His Excellency, the governor, that the 2022 budget Senate session of the Senate 66 Wyoming State Legislature is organized and ready to receive any communications he may desire to submit. I direct the chief clerk to notify the House that the 2022 budget session of the Senate 66 Wyoming State Legislature is organized and ready to receive any communications they may desire to submit. Mr. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. President, I move the following named persons be placed in nomination as the new employees of the Senate, and they be voted on collectively. Will the reading clerk please read the names of the new employees and their respective positions?
Bobby Frank, floor computer clerk. Debbie Kretschmar, afternoon watch person. Cindy Parker, watch person. Faith Shaw, student page.
You've heard the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion carried. On behalf of the entire Senate, I welcome you as staff members for this budget session. I hope you will find your work here challenging and rewarding. At this point, we'll proceed with the introduction of Senate files. Our chairman have been notified. Senator Landon,
Mr. President, my apologies. May I have privilege of the floor?
please do.
It would have been difficult to talk after that first resolution of the day, and so I'm better now. I was remiss. I actually do have an announcement, and if you'd like to get a look at the newest grandchild that came into our family, I've got pictures back here. He was born on December 14th. His name is Crew Bloom, and he's going to be extraordinary. He already is. And so come back, get a look at him. Haley and Jesse are the proud parents, and we're proud of all three of them. So Crew is here.
Congratulations,
Yeah.
Grandpa.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. President, he's got my hairline.
Off to a good start then. Thank you, Senator. All right, here we go with the Senate files. Senate File 19, first reading of the Senate file. Reading clerk, please read it in.
Senate File 19, County Optional Property Tax Refund Program, sponsored by the Revenue Committee.
Chairman Case.
Mr. President, what a privilege to be here today and move for the introduction of Senate File 19, County Optional Property Tax Refund Program. Mr. President, I've stood here and made introductions through 12 different presidents of the Senate, and I might say that you are a class act, sir, and thank you very much for bringing your family today. Members of the Senate, as we all know, taxes are going up. And there is a program on the books that would allow for a refund of property taxes, a certain amount of refunds at the state level. It would be a good program, but we've never funded it. It would work a lot like the veterans tax exemption that some of you have earned, and I'm glad you get to enjoy that benefit. This would allow counties to implement a similar program for their citizens. It's not going to be a lot of money, and they have to come up with the funding for the program themselves. It doesn't actually get rid of any taxes, and we still collect all the taxes, but it's funded by different sources of revenue within counties. I hope you'll give it a 2/3 vote. It's a way to give our folks some small relief. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chief Clerk, call the roll.
Introductory vote on Senate File 19. Anderson. Aye. Baldwin. Aye. Beitman. Aye. Boner. Aye. Bouchard. Aye. Case.
Aye.
Aye. Cooper. Aye. Driscoll. Aye. Ellis. I, French. I, Furphy. I, Guru. I, Hicks. No. Hutchings. I, James. I, Kinsky. No. Cole. No. Cost. I, Landon. I, McCune. I, Nethercott. I, Pappas. I, Perkins. I, Rothfuss. I, Salazar. I, Schuler. I, Scott. I, Steinmetz. I, Wasserberger. I, President Dockstader. I, closing vote. Perkins, I to no. Driscoll, I to no. Steinmetz, I to no. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 19, 24 aye, 6 no.
Senate File 19, having received a 2/3 majority vote, referred to Revenue Committee. Senate File 34, first reading of the bill.
Senate File 34, Inheritance Tax Fees Repeal, sponsored by the Revenue Committee.
Mr. President,
Senator Chairman Case.
I would move for the introduction of Senate File 34, Inheritance Tax Fees Repeal. Mr. President, what this does is, one time Wyoming had a inheritance tax. It was based on the federal deductibility of our state taxes. There was a time in our history when it provided about $20 million to fund the state of Wyoming when we needed it most. And it didn't cost the taxpayer a dime because it was actually the deductible portion of the federal income tax or the federal inheritance tax. But Mr. President, those times have changed. It's no longer deductible. But all this bill does is go in and eliminate a couple of fees on the production of certificates. And I would ask for your favorable consideration.
Thank you. Well, does Chief Clerk read the roll?
Introduction vote on Senate File 34, roll call. Anderson. Aye. Baldwin. Aye. Beitman. Aye. Boner. Aye. Bouchard. Aye. Case.
Aye.
Aye. Cooper. Aye. Driscoll. Aye. Ellis. Aye. French. Aye. Murphy. Aye. Guru. Aye. Hicks. Aye. Hutchings. Aye. James. Aye. Kinsky. Aye. Cole. Aye. Cost. Aye. Landon. Aye. McCune. Aye. Nethercott. Aye. Pappas. Aye. Perkins. Aye. Rothfuss. Aye. Salazar. Aye. Schuler. Aye. Scott. Aye. Steinmetz. Aye. Wasserberger. Aye. President Dockstader.
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote. Closing vote close. Senate File 34, 30 aye.
Senate File 34, having received a 2/3 majority vote, is referred to Committee Number 2, Committee Number 3, Revenue. Senate File 37, first reading of the bill.
Senate File 37, Sales Tax Exemptions Certify Eligibility, sponsored by the Revenue Committee.
Senator Case.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I would move for the introduction of Senate File 37, Sales Tax Exemptions Certify Eligibility, and ask for your favorable consideration. What this does, Mr. President, is it requires you to sign a certificate of eligibility for certain of the sales and use tax exemptions. It gives us a chance to look at that exemption every year, make sure that people would be filing for it. And in the process, they learn, and this is very important for our contractors and others that are working on large projects, that perhaps are enjoying our sales tax exemptions on manufacturing, for example, installation of manufacturing equipment, while employing, perhaps not realizing that their employees must register their vehicles in Wyoming, and to the most certain extent possible, they should employ folks that are from Wyoming. That's what the bill does. It's basically a check. Kevin says, if you want this exemption, do you realize the requirements with respect to employees and to their vehicles and your responsibilities to try to employ Wyoming people? That's what it does.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chief Clerk, call the roll.
Introductory vote, Senate File 37, roll call. Anderson? Aye. Baldwin? Aye. Beitman? No. Boner? Aye. Bouchard? No. Case?
Aye.
Aye. Cooper? Aye. Driscoll? Aye. Ellis? Aye. French? No. Furphy? Aye. Guru? Aye. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings? Aye. James? No. Kinsky? Aye. Kolb? No. Cost? Aye. Landon? Aye. McEwen? No. Nethercott? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Perkins? Aye. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? No. Schuler? Aye. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz? No. Wasserberger? Aye. President Dockstader? Aye. Closing vote? Closing vote closed. Senate File 37, 22 aye, 8 no.
Senate File 37, having received a 2/3 majority vote, is referred to Committee Number 3, Revenue. Senate File 38, first reading of the bill.
Senate File 38, monthly ad valorem tax revisions, sponsored by the Revenue Committee.
Chairman Case.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I would move for the introduction of Senate File 38, monthly ad valorem tax revisions. Mr. President, this is the third bill in a 3-year journey to try to get our monthly ad valorem tax collections, or our ad valorem taxes off of minerals to be collected on a monthly basis, current with the time the tax is due. It takes the property tax system, which lags more than a year past the severance tax on minerals, and it turns it into a monthly payment. Now, you folks recall that at one time, the severance taxes were also collected on kind of an annual basis with the same lag. And what the legislature did then is that they actually forgave all those severance taxes for a year to get everybody on a current schedule. We didn't do that because we have the greatest mineral industry in the world. They worked with us to create a bill where we transitioned the collection and payment of ad valorem taxes. And this has taken some tweaks, Mr. President. This is the last year we made a tweak. I think this might be the final tweak. I'm not going to promise 100%, but it is an enormous undertaking to move to monthly and current collection of the ad valorem taxes. The Revenue Committee, the mineral industry, our counties, the commissioners and officials, all to be commended for bringing everybody together on a bill that we agree on. So with that, Mr. President, this is going to be a great thing for Wyoming, because what happens is it reduces the risk of mineral bankruptcies and collection of taxes and puts us kind of first in line, Mr. President. And I ask for your favorable consideration.
Chief Clerk will call the roll.
Introductory vote, Senate File 38, roll call. Anderson? Aye. Baldwin? Aye. Beitman? No. Boner? Aye. Bouchard? No. Case? Aye. Cooper? Aye. Driscoll? Aye. Ellis? Aye. French? No. Furphy? Aye. Guru? Aye. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings? Aye. James? No. Kinsky? Aye. Kolb? Aye. Cost? Aye. Landon? Aye. McEwen? No. Nethercott? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Perkins? Aye. Rothbus? Aye. Salazar? No. Schuler? Aye. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz? Aye. Wasserberger? Aye. President Dockstader?
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote? Closing vote closed. Senate File 38, 24 aye, 6 no.
Senate File 38, having received two-thirds majority vote, is referred to Committee Number 3 Revenue. Senate File 70, Senate File 5. Reading clerk, read it in.
Senate File 5, State Parks Property Purchase Authorization, sponsored by the Travel Committee.
Chairman Ellis.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the introduction of Senate File 5, State Parks Property Purchase Authorization, and would ask for your favorable consideration. Senators, before I jump into the particulars of what this bill does, I want you to imagine for a moment that the work we did in this beautiful building, that the state of Wyoming didn't own this building. Imagine we had to pay rent every year, every month that we did our business in this beautiful facility. And as a result, imagine that we have maybe a third the size of our staff, and so that means we're doing a lot of our legwork. We're not delivering the services to the people of Wyoming that we're used to. Maybe we don't have a budget to travel for our interim committee hearings because we have to feed that rent payment. I think if we were in that situation over time, a number of us would think, man, if we bought that building and eventually paid it off, then we could use all that revenue instead of just feeding a lease payment, actually putting it toward improving our services and doing the work that we're doing. So that's kind of the theory behind this bill, Mr. President. The state parks has something called a motorized trail building in Fremont County. As you can imagine, that agency manages and keeps good maintenance of hundreds and hundreds of miles of trails throughout Wyoming, which supports our tourism industry, our state's second largest industry. They've been in a motorized trails building since 1996. So for the past 25 years or so, they've invested in a very nice building, but they pay a monthly rent fee. Currently, they're 6 years into a 10-year lease, and the seller is interested in selling her property to the State Parks Department. Doing so over time would allow state parks to own that building, which right now the only other tenants are other governmental agencies. And so once that building is paid off, then they can start using that money instead of feeding a lease payment, actually reinvesting that into the work that they do to improve our trails program. We've looked at this a lot during the interim. It makes good financial sense for the state of Wyoming. And already the State Parks Department has been working with Fremont County on a memorandum of understanding to make sure that any offsets that might be caused by removing this from property tax are addressed. So I would urge your favorable consideration of this bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chief Clerk, call the roll.
Introductory vote, Senate File 5, roll call. Anderson? Aye. Baldwin? Aye. Beitman? No. Boner? Aye. Bouchard? No. Case? No. Cooper? Aye. Driscoll? No. Ellis?
Aye.
Aye. French? No. Murphy? Aye. Guru? Aye. Hicks? No. Hutchings? No. James? No. Kinsky? No. Kolb? No. Cost? Aye. Landon? Aye. McEwen? No. Nethercott? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Perkins? No. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? No. Schuler? Aye. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz? No. Wasserberger?
Aye.
Aye. President Dockstader? No. Closing vote. Case, no to aye. Cooper, aye to no. Boner, aye to no. Baldwin, aye to no. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 5, 13 aye, 17 no.
Senate File 5. Having failed to receive 2/3 majority vote, Senate File 5 has failed introduction. Senate File 6, first reading of the Senate file.
Senate File 6, Aquatic Invasive Species Inspection Enforcement, sponsored by the Travel Committee.
Chairman Ellis.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the introduction of Senate File 6, Aquatic Invasive Species Inspection Enforcement, and ask for your favorable consideration. Senators, you might recall last year we had a big scare when we heard about the presence of something called zebra mussels into our waterways in Wyoming. We learned, the presence of these certain aquatic invasive species can cost millions, if not billions of dollars of damage in infrastructure. As a result, your committee number 6 looked into the lay of the land of what's happening out there to make sure that we're protecting our waterways in Wyoming. One thing we heard was as inspectors who were looking at watercraft and other items being placed in water, what was happening on the ground. And we learned that under current law, you can be penalized if you fail to have your watercraft inspected. You could be held guilty of a high misdemeanor, face a $10,000 fine, and up to 1 year in jail. Because the fine is so hefty, we found that enforcement of that is rarely done. Usually, Game and Fish and others will say to that person, you need to go get your watercraft inspected. But after that, we found that there still might be some hesitancy to enforce that provision. So what this bill does, Mr. President, it says that if a user of our waterways has been notified and asked to have their watercraft inspected, they have 48 hours to do so. And if they don't do that, then they might be subject to a different penalty. This one would be another misdemeanor, but a much lesser penalty of imprisonment of 1 year. But the fine is significantly less, on the low end, $1,000, on the high end, $15,000. So this was our attempt at trying to solve a problem to protect Wyoming's waterways. I'd urge your aye vote.
Introductory roll call, Senate File 6. Anderson? Aye. Baldwin? Aye. Beitman? Aye. Boner? Aye. Bouchard? No. Case? No. Cooper? Aye. Driscoll? Aye. Ellis?
Aye.
Aye. French? Aye. Furphy? Aye. Guru? Aye. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings? Aye. James? No. Kinsky? Aye. Cole? Aye. Cost? Aye. Landon? Aye. McCune? No. Nethercott? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Perkins? Aye. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? Aye. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz? Aye. Wasserberger?
Aye.
Aye. President Dockstader?
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote? Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 6, 26 aye, 4 no.
Senate File 6, having received a 2/3 majority vote, is referred to committee number 6, Travel. Senate File 7, first reading of the Senate file.
Senate File 7, Wyoming Gaming Commission Scrivener Error Correction, sponsored by the Travel Committee.
Senator Chairman Ellis.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the introduction of Senate File 7, Wyoming Gaming Commission Scrivener's Error Correction, and ask for your favorable consideration. Senators, this should be very familiar to you. During the last special session, we looked at this issue extensively. But to give you the short recap, in 2020, this Wyoming legislature established the Wyoming Gaming Commission. And in doing so, it added new appointments to the commission, a law enforcement at-large rep, someone from our reservations from a tribal member. It also made some very important clarifying changes to the law, saying that if you're a law enforcement agent hired to do work for the Gaming Commission, that you were considered a peace officer. So if you were in the state retirement system, your work on the Gaming Commission and law enforcement would count toward your retirement. In the following year, we made some adjustments to the Gaming Commission laws, but in doing so, we accidentally repealed those provisions. And as a result, our Wyoming gaming laws are in a bit of disarray. I'm giving you the highlights of what that means, but certainly it impacts the law enforcement hired by the Gaming Commission for their retirement benefits. The two additional members that were appointed to serve on the Gaming Commission, the tribal representative and the law enforcement representative, no longer have a voting right. They are allowed to sit in at the request of the governor, but we've accidentally revoked their ability to participate with a vote. This bill also corrects an error, right? We amended the law so that we would have a legislative liaison who could sit on executive sessions. That would need to be addressed by this error. And so, Mr. President, the list goes on. There are other more technical aspects of why our error was detrimental. And so this is a simple fix. I'd ask for your favorable consideration.
Chief Clerk, please call the roll.
Introductory roll call, Senate File 7. Anderson? Aye. Baldwin? Aye. Beitman? Aye. Boner? Aye. Bouchard? Aye. Case? Aye. Cooper? Aye. Driscoll? Aye. Ellis?
Aye.
Aye. French? Aye. Murphy? Aye. Guru? Aye. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings? Aye. James? Aye. Kinsky? Aye. Cole? Aye. Cost? Aye. Landon? Aye. McEwen? Aye. Nethercott? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Perkins? Aye. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? Aye. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz? Aye. Wasserberger?
Aye.
Aye. President Dockstader?
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote?
Ellis, I don't know.
Ellis, aye to no. Closing vote. Closing vote. I'm sorry, the vote was closed. Closed vote. Aye 29, no 1.
Senate File 7, having received 2/3 majority vote, is referred to Committee Number 6, Travel. Senate File 13, first reading of the Senate file.
Senate File 13, temporary delegation of parental authority, sponsored by the Transportation Committee.
Chairman Landon.
Mr. President, thank you. I would move introduction of Senate File 13. Temporary delegation of parental authority. This is a Transportation Committee bill. It comes to you, it might seem familiar. It actually was initiated a couple of years ago and was sent to the Transportation Committee as an interim topic. The committee brings this to you. It's a bill that provides that a parent or guardian may temporarily, for not more than 6 months or not more than 2 years for a military member, delegate parental authority to another person. That guardianship is temporary for a reason. The bill specifies exceptions and limitations to that authority. And I hope that you'll support the bill and we'll go work it in committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Chief Clerk, call the roll.
Introductory vote, Senate File 13. Anderson? Aye. Baldwin? Aye. Beitman? Aye. Boner? Aye. Bouchard? Aye. Case? Aye. Cooper? Aye. Driscoll? Aye. Ellis? Aye. French? Aye. Murphy? Aye. Guru? Aye. Hicks? No. Hutchings? Aye. James? Aye. Kinsky? Aye. Cole? Aye. Cost? Aye. Landon?
Aye.
Aye. McEwen? Aye. Nethercott? No. Pappas? Aye. Perkins? Aye. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? I Schuler. I Scott. I Steinmetz. I Wasserberger. I President Dockstader. Aye. Closing vote. Kolb, aye to no. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 13, 27 aye, 3 no.
Senate File 13, having received a 2/3 majority vote, is referred to Committee Number 8, Transportation. Senate File 40, first reading of the Senate file.
Senate File 40, Criminal Record Dissemination, Military Department, sponsored by the Transportation Committee.
Chairman Landon.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move introduction of Senate File 40, Criminal Record Dissemination Military Department. This is a bill that authorizes the Wyoming Military Department to access criminal history and investigative information about prospective employees, volunteers, and military members serving in active duty in the Wyoming National Guard for specified purposes. This is a product of the work that the Transportation and Military Affairs Committee did beginning in November. We actually took on another meeting to address a couple of things that came up in an annual report from the military department. I would commend this bill to you. We'd like to work it. A similar bill went through the Wyoming Senate a couple of years ago. They couldn't quite get their arms around it in the other establishment down the hall, but I'd like to work this bill and bring it back for your consideration, Mr. President. Hope you'll support the bill.
Thank you, Chairman. Chief Clerk, call the roll.
Boner. Aye. Bouchard. Aye. Case.
Aye.
Aye. Cooper. Aye. Driscoll. Aye. Ellis. Aye. French. Aye. Murphy. Aye. Guru. Aye. Hicks. Aye. Hutchings. Aye. James. Aye. Kinsky. Aye. Kolb. Aye. Cost. Aye. Landon.
Aye.
Aye. McCune. Aye. Nethercott. Aye. Pappas. Aye. Perkins. Aye. Rothfuss. Aye. Salazar. Aye. Schuler. Aye. Scott. Aye. Steinmetz. Aye. Wasserberger. Aye. President Dockstader.
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote. Closing vote closed. Senate File 40, 30 aye.
Senate File 40, having received a 2/3 majority vote, is referred to Committee Number 8, Transportation. Senate File 45, first reading in the Senate file.
Senate File 45, Military Department Annual Report, sponsored by the Transportation Committee.
Chairman Landon.
Mr. President, thank you again. I would move introduction of Senate File 45, Military Department Annual Report. Fellow Senators, this is a simple bill that requires an annual report from the Wyoming Military Department to the governor and to the Joint Transportation, Highways, and Military Affairs Interim Committee, specifically on sexual harassment, discrimination, and sexual assault matters within the Wyoming Military Department, and specifies that the information that certain information be included in that report. Mr. President, it became clear to us that that the Transportation Military Committee needs a little more oversight there. And likewise, we want that report to go to the governor on a yearly basis. I hope you'll support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Chief Clerk, call the roll.
Introductory vote, Senate File 45, roll call, Anderson. Aye. Baldwin. Aye. Beitman. Aye. Boner. Aye. Bouchard. Aye. Case. Aye. Cooper. Aye. Driscoll. Aye. Ellis. Aye. French. Aye. Murphy. Aye. Guru. Aye. Hicks. No. Hutchings. Aye. James. Aye. Kinsky. Aye. Kolb. Aye. Cost. Aye. Landon.
Aye.
Aye. McCune. Aye. Nethercott. Aye. Pappas. Aye. Perkins. Aye. Rothfuss. Aye. Salazar. Aye. Schuler. Aye. Scott. Aye. Steinmetz. Aye. Wasserberger. Aye. President Dockstader.
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote. Closing vote closed. Senate File 4529 aye, 1 no.
Senate File 45, having received a 2/3 majority vote, is referred to Committee Number 8, Transportation. Oh. Senate File 2, first reading the Senate File.
Senate File 2, Legislative Budget, sponsored by the Management Council.
Chairman Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for introduction of Senate File 2, Legislative Budget. Ask for your favorable consideration. Folks, this is what's more commonly referred to as feed bill. This is what we use to run everything that is on this end of the world. It pays for all our clerk staff, all the LSO, session staff, non-session staff, your salaries, your travel expenses, all your interim expenses, as you go through it. It's a biennium budget. It's about $23 million. That's what it amounts to over 2 years. 852,000 is going to be effective immediately. Basically, it's everything under the deal. It's got your new legislative training, your computers come out of it, all the way across extraordinary expenses. So if we run into extra, it comes on that end of it. Basically, every expense you can think of that's tied to us for the next 2 years. That's what it is, and that's how we operate and run. So I ask for your favorable consideration.
Chief Clerk, call the roll.
Introductory vote, Senate File 2, Anderson. Aye. Baldwin. Aye. Beitman. Aye. Boner. Aye. Bouchard. Aye. Case. Aye. Cooper. Aye. Driscoll.
Aye.
Aye. Ellis. Aye. French. Aye. Murphy. Aye. Guru. Aye. Hicks. Aye. Hutchings. Aye. James. Aye. Kinsky. Aye. Cole. Aye. Cost. Aye. Landon. Aye. McEwen. Aye. Nethercott. Aye. Pappas. Aye. Perkins. Aye. Rothfuss. Aye. Salazar. Aye. Schuler. Aye. Scott. Aye. Steinmetz. Aye. Wasserberger. Aye. President Dockstader.
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote. Closing vote closed. Senate File 230 aye.
Senate File 2, having received a 2/3 majority vote, is referred to Committee Number 2, Appropriations. Senate File 39, first reading of the Senate File.
Senate File 39, Fireman's Pension Plan Benefits, sponsored by the Appropriations Committee.
Chairman Perkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I'd move Senate File 39, Fireman's Pension Plan Benefits, and ask the body to vote aye. Mr. President, just very quickly on the bills that you see come from appropriations, a couple of these were assigned topics. 2 of them you're going to hear about today are significant parts of the budget, and the others are items that we come across doing the budget that just they need a quick financial fix because there's a glitch in the system or we've seen something that needs a little bit of adjusting. With respect to the Fireman's Pension Plan Benefits, Mr. Chairman, I was on appropriations in 2014 when we last tried to solve this problem. The problem is Fireman Plan A. Fireman Plan A is a closed plan. I think there's 1 active employee left in this plan. All the other individuals are either retired or they're spouses of deceased firewomen that were out there. This plan has been struggling for a significant amount of time. For lots of reasons we can go into when we talk about the bill as a whole, but ultimately this plan has gotten so short of funds that it was de-risked by the Wyoming retirement system and all put into into basically bonds. This plan will run out of money in about 5 years. That will leave all of these first responders and their spouses without employment, without retirement payments. This plan comes back and looks, it's a pricey plan, but this is the opportunity we have to fix it. We do have some surplus this year and we have the opportunity to fix this. It moves forward. This plan requires a significant donation by the state. It requires a significant donation by the districts and cities and counties that were involved in the plan that didn't pay that. And it requires a significant loss or reduction of future benefits from plan participants. This plan has been looked at. We looked at it very heavily during the interim as one of our interim topics. This is the opportunity to fix this. If we don't fix it again, these people will be without retirement in just a few years. Many of these people, because they were in this retirement plan, did not participate in Social Security. So there is no other fallback for many of these individuals. So I encourage you to vote this in. Let's work this problem and let's try and solve it. For those, this is your opportunity to put your money where your mouth is in supporting first responders. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Chairman. Chief Clerk, call the roll.
Introductory vote, Senate File 39. Anderson? Aye. Baldwin? Conflict? Beitman? Aye. Boner? Aye. Bouchard? Aye. Case? No. Cooper? Aye. Driscoll? Aye. Ellis? Aye. French? Aye. Furphy? Aye. Guru? Aye. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings? Aye. James? Aye. Kinsky? Aye. Cole? Aye. Cost? Aye. Landon? Aye. McEwen? Aye. Nethercott? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Perkins?
Aye.
Aye. Rothfuss? No. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? Aye. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz? Aye. Wasserberger? Aye. President Dockstader?
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote? Closing vote closed. Senate File 39, 27 aye, 2 no, 1 conflict.
Senate File 39, having received a 2/3 majority vote, is referred to Committee Number 2 Appropriations. Senate File 57, first reading of the Senate File.
Senate File 57, Chancery Court Vacancy Amendments, sponsored by the Appropriations Committee.
Oh, Senator Kinsky, you have an assignment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move for introduction of Senate File 57, Chancery Court Vacancy Amendments, and urge the body's favorable consideration. This is a chance for us to save some money. You heard the Chief Justice say today that the Chancery Court is up and running in Casper, but it does not yet have sufficient caseload to justify a full-time judge. However, we have on the books a requirement that we have a full-time judge by March 1 of 2023. This bill quite simply pushes that back to January 1 of 2024, delaying the hiring of a full-time judge. So I'd urge the body's favorable consideration. Thank you, Mr. President.
Chief Clerk, call the roll, please.
Introductory vote. Excuse me, Senate File 57. Roll call, Anderson. Aye. Baldwin. Aye. Beitman. Aye. Boner. Aye. Bouchard. Aye. Case. Aye. Cooper. Aye. Driscoll. Aye. Ellis. Aye. French. Aye. Furphy. Aye. Guru. Aye. Hicks. Aye. Hutchings. Aye. James. Aye. Kinsky. Aye. Cole. Aye. Cost. Aye. Landon. Aye. McEwen. Aye. Nethercott. Aye. Pappas. Aye. Perkins. Aye. Rothfuss. Aye. Salazar. Aye. Schuler. Aye. Scott. Aye. Steinmetz. Aye. Wasserberger. Aye. President Dockstader.
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote. Closing vote closed. Senate File 57, 30 aye.
Senate File 57, having received a 2/3 majority vote, is referred to Committee Number 2 Appropriations. Senate File 58, first reading of the bill. File.
Senate File 58, Wyoming Council for Women's Issues Workforce Services, sponsored by the Appropriations Committee.
Senator Steinmetz.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I would like to move Senate File 58, Wyoming Women's Council for Women's Issues Workforce Services. I would like to move it and ask for your favorable consideration. Mr. President, this bill just goes forward with the work we started last year in the budget and moves the Wyoming Council for Women's Issues from the Department of the Wyoming Business Council to the Workforce Services Department and transfers the authority and the funds. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Chief Clerk, please call the roll.
Introductory vote, Senate File 58, roll call, Anderson. Aye. Baldwin. Aye. Beitman. Aye. Boner. Aye. Bouchard. Aye. Case. Aye. Cooper. Aye. Driscoll. Aye. Ellis. Aye. French. Aye. Murphy. Aye. Guru. Aye. Hicks. Aye. Hutchings. Aye. James. Aye. Kinsky. Aye. Kolb. Aye. Cost. Aye. Landon. Aye. McEwen. Aye. Nethercott. Aye. Pappas. Aye. Perkins. Aye. Rothfuss. Aye. Salazar. Aye. Schuler. Aye. Scott. Aye. Steinmetz. Aye. Wasserberger. Aye. President Dockstader.
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote. Closing vote. Close. Senate File 58, 30 aye.
Senate File 58, having received a 2/3 majority vote, is referred to Committee Number 2, Appropriations. Senate File 59, first reading of the Senate File.
Senate File 59, Game and Fish Fund Investments, sponsored by the Appropriations Committee.
Senator Hicks.
Mr. President, I move for introduction of Senate File 59, Wyoming Game and Fish Fund Investments. Members of the committee, what this would allow is the Game and Fish Commission to invest all or part of their reserve account and move that out of, currently it's in the agency pool, would allow them to move part of that into Pool A. Just to give you an idea, had we had this opportunity last year, the difference between the earnings on their reserve account and its current configuration and where it was if it would be in Pool A today would have been about $6 million net revenue for the Game and Fish Department, just based on investment earnings. So this just provides the commission the opportunity to designate all or part of their reserves to go into Pool A to try to derive a higher rate of return on their reserve accounts. Ask for your favorable consideration.
Chief Clerk, please call the roll.
Introductory vote, Senate File 59, roll call, Anderson. Aye. Baldwin. Aye. Beitman. Aye. Boner. Aye. Bouchard. Aye. Case. Aye. Cooper. Aye. Driscoll. Aye. Ellis. Aye. French. Aye. Murphy. Aye. Guru. Aye. Hicks. Hick. Aye. Hutchings. Aye. James. Aye. Kinsky. Aye. Cole. Aye. Cost. Aye. Landon. Aye. McEwen. Aye. Nethercott. Aye. Pappas. Aye. Perkins. Aye. Rothfuss. Aye. Salazar. Aye. Schuler. Aye. Scott. Aye. Steinmetz. Aye. Wasserberger. Aye. President Dockstader.
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote. Closing vote closed. Senate File 59, 30 aye.
Senate File 59, having received a 2/3 majority vote, is referred to Committee Number 2, Appropriations. Senate File 66, first reading of the Senate File.
Senate File 66, American Rescue Plan Act Recovery Funds Appropriations, sponsored by the Appropriations Committee.
Senator Guru.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to move Senate File 66 for introduction and ask for your favorable consideration. Members of the 66th, good afternoon. I bring to you the Senate File 66, the American Rescue Plan Act bill. As our good chairman said out the lead off our little section here from appropriations, we'll be dealing with three principal bills, the budget bill, which will be introduced, the Capcom bill, capital construction, which will be introduced, and this piece. This is the American Rescue Act bill. Congress authorized $1.066 million for the state of Wyoming. Last year, the first $500+ million is on deposit with the state treasurer. And in your inbox is a list of what the first floor executive asked for the spending of the first portion of that money. Of course, as you know, some of the rest of that money has already been put into the budget in what we call conserved ARPA dollars, which have been turned over for revenue losses. This money represents direct ARPA dollars. And we'll be talking about this a lot. So we'll be seeing the conserved ARPA dollars inside the regular budget in the 300 series, and you'll be seeing this in a separate bill. So as you can see from this, there are some things that the Appropriations Committee looked favorably upon and some that it did not in our infinite wisdom. And you may disagree and agree with some of those decisions. Really, that's not the point. The point is today, if we pass this bill, we can have this argument, we can have this, your thoughts, your ideas. This is not all the money that the direct ARPA dollars that are at your disposal. This is only a portion of it. There'll be another portion to come. But this is the first portion, and it will be a robust discussion, but I urge your favorable consideration. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Groot. Chief Clerk, call the roll, please.
Introductory vote, Senate File 66, roll call. Anderson? Aye. Baldwin? Aye. Beitman? No. Boner? Aye. Bouchard? No. Case? Aye. Cooper? Aye. Driscoll? Aye. Ellis? Aye. French? No. Murphy? Aye. Guru? Aye. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings? No. James? Conflict? Kinsky? Aye. Cole? Aye. Cost? Aye. Landon? Aye. McEwen? No. Nethercott? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Perkins? Aye. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? Aye. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz? Aye. Wasserberger? Aye. President Dockstader?
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote. Closing vote closed. Senate File 66, 24 aye, 5 no, 1 conflict.
Senate File 66, having received a 2/3 majority vote, is referred to Committee Number 2, Appropriations. Senate File 67, first reading of the Senate File.
Senate File 67, State-Funded Capital Construction, sponsored by the Appropriations Committee.
Senator Steinmetz.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I would move Senate File 67 and ask for your favorable consideration for state-funded capital construction. And Mr. President, in this bill, several of our construction projects across the state are included, including our major maintenance on all of our state buildings that require upkeep every year, and all of the UW community colleges, parks, military department, ANI, all of those projects across the state. So I would just ask for your favorable consideration, and we can have a discussion about all of those issues as we go forward. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Steinmetz. Chief Clerk, call the roll.
Introductory vote, Senate File 67, roll call. Anderson? Aye. Baldwin? Aye. Beitman? No. Boner? Aye. Bouchard? No. Case? Aye. Cooper? Aye. Driscoll? Aye. Ellis? No. French? Aye. Murphy? Aye. Guru? Aye. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings? Aye. James? No. Kinsky? Aye. Cole? Aye. Cost? Aye. Landon? Aye. McEwen? No. Nethercott? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Perkins? Aye. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? Aye. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz? Aye. Wasserberger? Aye. President Dockstader.
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 67, 25 aye, 5 no.
Senate File 67, having received a 2/3 majority vote, is referred to Committee Number 2, Appropriations. Senate File 74, first reading of the Senate File.
Senate File 74, Water and Sewer District Elections Amendments, sponsored by the Corporations Committee.
Senator Driscoll. Nope, whoop. Senator Nethercutt, sorry about that.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for introduction of Senate File 74, Water and Sewer District Election Amendments. Good senators, what this bill does is it makes a requirement for any water and sewer district with over 1,000 taps to have a public election for those members who serve on the Water and Sewer District Board. It seems that there's a number of water and sewer districts across the state that have control over a great deal of people, of water and sewer fees and assessments on a number of Wyomingites. And the people who serve on that board are not elected per our normal laws associated with running for a public office. And so this bill attempts to address that. Ask for your favorable consideration.
Thank you, Senator Nethercutt. Chief Clerk, call the roll. Sorry, give you a little time there.
Senate File 74, introductory vote, roll call. Anderson. Aye. Baldwin. Aye. Whitman. Aye. Boner. Aye. Bouchard. Aye. Case. Aye. Cooper. Aye. Driscoll. Aye. Ellis. Aye. French. Aye. Murphy. Aye. Guru. Aye. Hicks. Aye. Hutchings. Aye. James. Aye. Kinsky. Aye. Cole. Aye. Cost. Aye. Landon. Aye. McCune. Aye. Nethercott. Aye. Pappas. Aye. Perkins. Aye. Rothfuss. Aye. Salazar. Aye. Schuler. Aye. Scott. Aye. Steinmetz. Aye. Wasserberger. Aye. President Dockstader.
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote. Anderson, aye to no. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 74, 29 aye, 1 no.
Senate File 74, having received a 2/3 majority vote, is referred to Committee Number 7, Corporations. Senate File 75, first reading of the Senate File.
Senate File 75, Deferred Annuities Minimum Non-Forfeiture, sponsored by the Corporations Committee.
Senator Case.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I would move for the introduction of Senate File 75, Deferred Annuities Minimum Non-Forfeiture. This has to do with the subject of life insurance, Mr. President. It's the situation where you cancel your life insurance policy, and it deals with the minimum amount of interest that the company has to pay back to you if you cancel your insurance. It doesn't apply at all to terms of life insurance, which are payouts under the normal course of if you or whoever the policy's on dies and they have to pay the contract amount here. Life insurance is done by contract, Mr. President. You enter into it as a competitive business. You know what they're going to pay in the sense if you cancel the policy or if you keep the policy in effect. It's all specified up front. The trouble is when we specify rates of interest in the law, Mr. President, they don't always keep track of and in sync with the times. As you know, we've had a very intense period of very extremely low insurance rates or not insurance, but interest rates in this country, Mr. President. No doubt there's good reasons for that, and there's bad reasons for that. But Mr. President, the amount of minimum percentage required is not competitive anymore. Now, maybe that'll change as inflation comes back, but this lowers the minimum amount that is paid. And remember, it's a contract. You know what it is. You shop around, and I ask for your favorable consideration. This will keep us a very important place to sell life insurance. As you know, we've tried to expand the insurance markets in the state. by changing the payouts and, we're trying to be very progressive. I ask for your favorable consideration and thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Chairman Case. Chief Clerk, call the roll.
Introductory roll call vote. Anderson. Aye. Baldwin. Aye. Beitman. Aye. Boner. Aye. Bouchard. Aye. Case. Aye. Cooper. Aye. Driscoll. Aye. Ellis. Ellis Conflict. French. Aye. Murphy. Aye. Guru. Aye. Hicks. Aye. Hutchings. No. James. Aye. Kinsky. Aye. Cole. Aye. Cost. Aye. Landon. Aye. McEwen. No. Nethercott. Aye. Pappas. Aye. Perkins. Perkins. Aye. Rothfuss. Aye. Salazar. Aye. Schuler. Aye. Scott. Aye. Steinmetz. No. Wasserberger. Aye. President Dockstader.
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote. French, aye to no. Cole, aye to no. Closing vote. Closing vote closed. Senate File 75, 24 aye, 5 no, 1 conflict.
Senate File 75, having received a 2/3 majority vote, is referred to Committee Number 7, Corporations. That concludes the introduction of Senate files. Give Chief Clerk just a moment. Jump straight into. All right, messages from the House. Reading clerk will read those messages, please.
From the House of Representatives, Wyoming State Legislature, February 14, 2022. Message number 1. Mr. President, the House of Representatives of the 66th Wyoming State Legislature budget session has been called to order by Speaker Eric Barlow and is ready to receive any communications that you may desire to submit. Message number 2, February 14, 2022. Mr. President, the House of Representatives appointed the following employees, dispensing with further reading. Message number 3, February 14, 2022. Mr. President, Speaker of the House of Representatives appointed the following standing committees for the 66th Legislature October 21 special session, and they remained the same for the 2022 budget session, dispensing with further reading. Signed, Wendy Harding, House Chief Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Majority Floor Leader. That clears the desk.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before we get to the end of the day, I've got just a couple announcements. Folks, we went through 19 bills today. If you look on your desk, there's a list of 19 bills for tomorrow and the balance of the committee bills. These are all committee bills that came through the interim. Wednesday, we will do the end of the list, but instead of doing a 3-minute introduction, the way we've done it, these will be per Senate Rule 13-5, we can go to a consent list. So if you look at this list ahead of time, those bills will come up, and just like third reading, if you want one pulled off to get the full explanation of it, you'll be able to do so. Otherwise, we'll just vote out them as a list. It makes go through quite a bit quicker than you have been on the thing. With that, Mr. President, I move Senate adjourn until 10 a.m. Tuesday, February 15th.
Announcements. Chairman Case.
Mr. President, thank you very much. Your committee number 3, Revenue, will meet tomorrow morning or tomorrow upon the noon recess. We'll meet in connector room number 6, and we'll take up Senate File 19, County Option Property Tax Refund Program, Senate File 34, Inheritance Taxes Fees Repeal. And if time permits, we're going to go on to Senate File 37, Sales Tax Exemption Certify Eligibility, and Senate File 38, Monthly Ad Valorem Tax Revisions. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Move next door to Chairman Landon.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Transportation Military Affairs Committee will not be sitting around. We're going to put the hammer down right away. We will meet upon adjournment, say 20 minutes from now, down in W2 to take up the following bills. We'll take up Senate File 45, Military Department Annual Report, Senate File 40, Criminal Record Dissemination, Military Department, and Senate File 13, Temporary Delegation of Parental Authority. Again, that's down in W2, Mr. President, in about 20 minutes.
Thank you. Move up to the northwest part of the floor. Chairman Ellis.
Thank you, Mr. President. Committee number 6, Travel, Recreation, Wildlife, and Cultural Resources will meet tomorrow, February 15th at 8 a.m. in W2 and online to take up Senate File 6, Aquatic Invasive Species Inspection Enforcement. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Before we go back to the corner, let's go to Chairman Boner.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your committee number 5, Agriculture, will meet tomorrow upon adjournment in Capitol Extension Room W2 and online to consider the following bills if introduced and referred. Senate File 10, Predator Control, Senate File 8, Weed and Pest Reorganization, and Senate File 9, Revenue Bonds for Agricultural Endeavors.
Thank you. Back to the Appropriations Chair, Chairman Perkins.
Thank you. I think I'm in the southwest corner, but anyway.
You are.
Southeast, no?
You are.
Oh, yes, I'm in the southeast corner. Thank you. My compass is off. Hey, speaking of W-2s, you should have yours by now. And if you don't, you should be looking for it. If you haven't gotten them out in your employer, you should have had them out a month ago or close to several weeks ago. And if you don't forget to file your tax extensions for all corporations, trusts, and partnerships by March 15th. Anyway, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, your committee number 2, Appropriations, We Try Harder, will undertake the following bills we'll start at 4:15, 20 minutes from now. Senate File 57, Chancery Court Vacancy Amendments. Senate File 58, Wyoming Council for Women's Issues, Workforce Services. Senate File 59, Game and Fish Fund Investments. Senate File 39, Fireman's Pension Plan Benefits. And Mr. President, your committee number 2 will try even harder tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, where we will undertake Senate File 2, Legislative Budget, Senate File 66, American Rescue Plan Act Recovery Funds Appropriations, and Senate File 67. Mr. President, and that one tomorrow morning will be at room West 113 downstairs. And also in tomorrow, then this afternoon, we'll be up in the appropriations room at E301.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Track those rooms. Appreciate all the work of appropriations. Let's go to Senator Driscoll, Chairman.
Senator from the Northeast, speaking from the Southeast.
Good.
Your committee,
Glad you got
number
that sorted.
7, Corporations.
Glad you got that sorted out.
Your committee, number 7, Corporations, will meet tomorrow morning, February 15th at 8 a.m. in the State Capitol Room W110 and online to take up Senate File 74, Water and Sewer District Elections Amendments, Senate File 75, Deferred Annuities, Minimum Non-Forfeiture. And back to, I'm not going to do the lawyer accountant deal, but I will tell all of you, bill cutoff is Wednesday. If you have a bill you want filed by close of business today, which is getting pretty tight, you need to get it in. And if you haven't pushed the button to accept the bill by Wednesday, you're done. So that's final notice. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further announcements? Any further announcements? All right, you've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Senate is adjourned.